Everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today inside this game unboxing video, I am excited to be checking out Vampire the Masquerade chapters from Flyos Games. You'll remember this one hit Kickstarter about 2 years ago, and I did a full Kickstarter preview series on it showing the gameplay and all aspects that you need to know to get an understanding to dive into the experience that is chapters. So if you want to check out gameplay, I'll put a link in the top right hand corner to that preview. But if you're here because you want to see the final form of Vampire the Masquerade chapters, I have you covered as well. We're going to go through all the game components inside the box, giving a great idea as to whether or not this game is for you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dig inside this large box. When you first open up the box, you're going to find all the major game tiles right here in a large stack. We're going to take them out and go through each of them one at a time. Next up inside the box, we have the rulebook, and underneath the rulebook, we also have the storybook. When you open up the rulebook, you're not only going to find some gorgeous artwork as you go through this book, you're also going to find a lot of information to set the stage for the journey you're going to go on inside of chapters. This continues on the next page where you'll see traditions laid out, all 6 of them, and also talking about clans and disciplines, and then what is this game all about. After we go through the table of contents as well as the game components, of which you'll see all of it as we go through the unboxing, we hit the overview section, which gives a nice breakdown as to what the game looks like on the table. Again, if you're checking out my Kickstarter preview series, you'll see exactly how that was set up. And this being very much an RPG board game, you're going to be going ahead and creating your character, and that's all detailed right here. Here's a look at some of the options you have to choose from. As you continue through the rulebook, it's going to go into the different sections, the major areas you need to know, like setup before you start a chapter, how a chapter actually begins, and how a chapter wraps up is mentioned here on the left-hand side. And from this point on in the rulebook, you're starting to get into the major areas of gameplay as it breaks those things down. You'll see great illustrations in terms of what things are on each of the cards, and then it gets into the details of how the gameplay actually pans out. So here's an example of a gameplay section here talking about skill checks, and being that it's an RPG board game, you can expect to be taking these quite often. The game is broken down into 3 major areas that you're going to be focused on and have to decide between. You'll have areas of dialogue, areas of investigation, and of course you're going to run into some combat as well. One of the major takeaway highlights that I had from the Kickstarter preview was the fact that when you went into a scenario, being that this game, of course, is leaning on the RPG side of the equation with Vampire the Masquerade as its major IP, is that it gives you a number of different ways to tackle a particular scenario. In other words, how it actually comes to pass will be different for different people playing the exact same scenario, but dependent on your dialogue choices or how you investigate a particular scenario, or maybe even how you involve combat combat in the situation, all of those choices that you make are going to have massive ripple effects across the gameplay, and that's going to keep things very replayable in terms of trying different things out inside the same campaign if you choose to replay it in the future. The rulebook comes in at about 56 pages. What we're looking at now is a storybook, and the reason why I'm even mentioning how many pages the rulebook has is because some people might think, well, that seemed to be quite a large rulebook. I don't know if I want to tackle that. I'll tell you right now from experience, the prologues and the way in which this game leads you in bit by bit, learning one little aspect of the game at a time is really, really well done. And it does this through a number of prologues. You'll see from the very beginning of the table of contents in the storybook, taking you through those major gameplay aspects like dialogue, investigation, and combat. And as you learn those things, whether it's individual, just one of those, or maybe a mixture of two, or maybe even three of them, by the time you're done all the prologues, you'll have got a complete understanding of the game rules, and you'll be able to start diving into the actual meat of the game in the chapters themselves, which run from 1 all the way to 41. There's side quests, which look like there's about 10 of them, and then you got expansion pack content on top of that as well. Here's an example of one of the prologues inside the storybook, and want to mention the fact each of these prologues is 10 minutes. Now, of course, once you start getting to the chapters of the game, it will increase in terms of time frame to defeat the scenario, but these prologues are a learning experience, so they're quick and very focused on what they're trying to teach you. So in this case, they're telling you to fight your opponent to the death, so it's very much on the combat side of the equation. You'll be focused on doing this from a solo perspective, as it mentions here in the red up top. These prologues are all played solo. If you wish, you can continue through all the prologues that are provided, or you can skip right to the campaign introduction if you've already got the gist of the game from the rulebook. Maybe you're an individual that prefers to just read the rulebook front to back right away and then just dive in. You could skip these prologues, but I actually recommend you do them because they're a great way to get some hands-on learning and to kind of learn the quirks of the systems before you actually dive into the gameplay. Now, for solo players out there, you're probably wondering, can I play this thing true solo with just one character? Yes, you can, but overall in terms of the difficulty, which let's say is a standard benchmark of an average difficulty, if you choose to play true solo, it's going to be a tick or two above that in terms of difficulty. So you're actually going to be making the game a little bit harder on yourself if you're just playing completely alone. The game does allow, as you'll see in my Kickstarter preview series from 2 years ago, the ability to control other characters in a lesser capacity or more streamlined capacity. So you don't need to have a ton of characters in play in order to make this thing happen. But you do, in most cases, most likely want to have some type of an ally there that maybe balances you out in terms of your skills versus theirs. That will give you a little bit more options in terms of what you're able to accomplish as you move through the RPG. And that really brings the difficulty back to an average level. If you're going in with true solo, expect just a little bit more resistance. The storybook clocks in at about 175 pages, and again, based on what I read from the Kickstarter preview series that I did, I was very impressed at the writing behind this one. It really does draw you into the experience. We head back inside the game box. As you can see, spaces for all the miniatures, as well as expansion content too, card slots, and a number of components. Let's take a look at these up close. With that tray out of the way, we're now at the bottom of the box. You're going to see at the very top here across an entire row a whole bunch of books. These are going to actually tie into the chapters in the game as well as the prologues. There is a whole bunch of these, quite thick. And after moving some more components around, you'll see there's even more cards hidden underneath some player boards as well. We'll take a look at these up close in a moment. We also have the pad, which you're going to keep track of your abilities, your attributes, your disciplines, everything to do with your particular vampire in question. And then, of course, you've got these what appear to be secret envelopes. I won't be opening those up. Here's an up-close look at the artwork for each of these. And there's one for each of the miniatures that you saw moments ago. I've gone ahead and opened up some of the cards. I've got the standard size cards here, which are going to relate to each of the playable characters. There's also NPCs that you'll see in just a moment. The attributes across them. Trying my best here not to get my thumb on top of the attributes, but that could potentially happen here. And as we continue on through, you'll see a whole bunch of other individuals we could potentially be running into as we go through the game. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything because I do want to keep a lot of this secret, because being that this is an RPG and you will be going through the game and you're going to be experiencing a lot of things as you continue through the campaign, I really don't want to be opening up too much more for the cards. I want to show you how many cards there are. We've got all kinds of mini cards here across. Some of them won't be spoiler territory as they'll relate to combat decks that the characters will be using, but a large amount of them will come through the campaign experience itself. So we'll keep those from being spoiled. I also have another whole pack of standard size cards with more NPCs, more characters. That's going to wrap up the game unboxing video for Vampire the Masquerade chapters from Flyos Games. Let me know in the comments below whether you enjoyed this unboxing video and whether you're one of the individuals from the original Kickstarter waiting for yours to show up in the near future. Also, you might be eyeing this thing for the very first time, and if that's the case, this thing will be coming to retail, so there's that option as well, and I hope this helps you make an informed decision on it. And again, if you haven't checked out my Kickstarter preview series, definitely do that to get a great idea as to how the game flows and operates. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.